The porcelain teacup shattered, not with a delicate clink, but with a violent, echoing crack that ripped through the Sunday silence like a gunshot. It wasn't the broken china that stole my breath, though. It was the raw, guttural sob that followed, a sound that seemed to claw its way from the depths of my mother's soul. She wasn't crying for the teacup, I knew. She was crying for the letter, the crumpled, tear-stained confession that lay open on the kitchen table, a declaration of love not for my father, but for my sister Alara, not the kind of love that bound siblings, but a love that burned with a forbidden intensity, a love that whispered of stolen glances and clandestine meetings. We'd always been close, Alara and I, closer than most sisters, sharing secrets and dreams under the cloak of childhood innocence. But this was a revelation that shattered the very foundation of our family, a seismic shift that turned everything I knew upside down. The letter, penned in Alara's elegant, looping script, spoke of a longing that had festered for years, a silent adoration that had bloomed in the fertile soil of our shared laughter and whispered confidences. It spoke of a kiss, a single stolen moment under the weeping willow in our backyard, a moment that had ignited a fire they both thought they could bury but couldn't. I remember that willow tree. I remember Alara's flushed cheeks, the way she'd avoided my gaze afterwards. But I dismissed it, attributing it to a fleeting moment of teenage awkwardness. Now the memory hung in the air, weighted with a meaning I couldn't ignore. My father, his face a mask of bewildered pain, looked from the letter to Alara, who stood frozen, her eyes wide with a mixture of terror and a defiant, raw truth. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, until my mother, her voice a broken whisper, asked, "How long?" Alara didn't answer. Instead, she looked at me, her eyes pleading, searching for something I couldn't comprehend. It was then, in that moment of shattered porcelain and broken confessions, that I realized our family wasn't just a family. It was a carefully constructed facade, a delicate tapestry woven with unspoken desires and hidden truths. And I, the ever-observant sibling, had been blind to it all, a silent spectator in a play I never understood. The twist. The letter, while confessing a love for my sister, also contained a hidden addendum, revealed only under a specific light source, detailing how that love had been used as a shield, a way to hide a far more dangerous, far more complicated truth, a truth that implicated another family member, a truth that would soon shatter the very core of our existence. The hidden message, revealed under the harsh, unforgiving glare of the kitchen's fluorescent light, wasn't a confession of another affair, as I'd initially feared. It was a plea, a desperate cry for help, detailing years of subtle manipulation and emotional abuse at the hands of our seemingly benevolent father. The love she had expressed for my mother was a carefully constructed lie, a desperate attempt to deflect suspicion and create a smokescreen. The stolen kiss, the whispered confessions, all were part of a calculated performance, a way to make my mother believe she was the object of Alara's affection, thus diverting attention from the real predator lurking within our own home. My father, the man I'd always looked up to, the pillar of strength and stability, was revealed to be a master manipulator, a puppeteer pulling the strings of our lives with cruel precision. He'd systematically isolated Alara, eroding her confidence, twisting her perceptions, and subtly controlling her every move. The love she'd confessed wasn't love at all. It was a desperate act of survival, a way to create a narrative that would protect her from his insidious control. The revelation hit me like a physical blow, a wave of nausea and disbelief washing over me. I looked at my father, his face now a mask of cold, calculating composure, and I saw a stranger, a predator masquerading as a patriarch. My mother, her tears now replaced with a chilling resolve, reached for the phone, her hand trembling but firm. Alara, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and relief, finally spoke, her voice hoarse but steady, detailing the years of torment, the subtle acts of control, the whispered threats that had kept her silent. The police arrived, their presence a stark intrusion into the shattered remnants of our family life. The air crackled with tension, the unspoken accusations hanging heavy in the room. As they led my father away, he turned to me, his eyes filled with a chilling emptiness, and whispered, "You'll understand someday." The twist, that understanding wasn't about him, it was about me. The police, while taking my father away, noticed a small, almost imperceptible detail in Alara's testimony, a subtle inconsistency that suggested she was still protecting someone else involved in this twisted web of deceit. And that someone, it turned out, was me, or rather, the distorted image of me that my father had carefully crafted in Alara's mind, a phantom sibling used to further his control. He had made her believe I was complicit, a silent observer in his game, making her trust no one. The realization that I had become a pawn in my father's twisted game, a ghost in Alara's fractured reality, was a chilling revelation. He'd painted me as a silent accomplice, a betrayer, someone Alara couldn't trust, further isolating her and solidifying his control. The police, their eyes sharp and probing, began to question me, their words carefully chosen, their tone laced with suspicion. They asked about my relationship with Alara, about any unusual interactions, any subtle hints that might corroborate her story. I struggled to answer, my mind reeling, trying to reconcile the image of my loving father with the monster he'd revealed himself to be. I recounted childhood memories, shared secrets, moments of sisterly bonding, but each memory was now tainted, warped by the knowledge of his manipulation. Alara, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and confusion, watched me, her gaze searching for a truth I wasn't sure I possessed. The police, noticing the tension between us, separated us, conducting individual interviews. They delved into our past, dissecting our childhood, searching for the cracks in our carefully constructed facade. They asked about our mother, about her relationship with my father, about any signs of discord or abuse. My mother, her voice trembling but resolute, recounted years of subtle manipulation, of being slowly eroded, of her own growing suspicions that she had dismissed as paranoia. The interviews stretched into the night, the weight of the accusations pressing down on us, the truth a slippery eel constantly shifting and evading our grasp. They found journals, hidden recordings, meticulously documented instances of my father's control, each entry a chilling testament to his calculated cruelty. They also found something else, a series of encrypted messages hidden within seemingly innocuous family photos, messages that hinted at a deeper conspiracy, a network of individuals involved in something far more sinister than we could have imagined. The twist deepened. These messages didn't just implicate my father, they pointed towards a clandestine group, a hidden society that had infiltrated our town, a group that used families like ours as pawns in their own twisted games. The love I thought Alara had for my mother, the fabricated affection that had been the catalyst for this entire unraveling, was not just a shield but a coded communication, a desperate attempt to reach out to this group, to warn them or to escape them. It was not my father she was trying to hide, but the people who controlled him. The love she had for my mother in that letter was a code. The encrypted messages, deciphered by a specialist the police brought in, revealed a horrifying truth. Our family and several others in our seemingly idyllic town were unwitting participants in a social experiment, a twisted study on control and manipulation. This clandestine group, calling themselves the architects, believed they could engineer perfect families, molding individuals into compliant puppets, their lives meticulously orchestrated. My father was their prime subject, a man chosen for his charisma and vulnerability, a blank canvas upon which they painted their depraved masterpiece. Alara's fabricated love for my mother, her carefully crafted confession, was a desperate attempt to communicate with them, to expose their machinations, to break free from their control. She discovered their hidden network, their subtle influence, the way they had infiltrated our lives, manipulating our emotions and twisting our perceptions. The stolen kiss, the whispered confessions, were not acts of love, but coded messages, desperate pleas for help disguised as romantic overtures. The police, their faces grim, began to investigate the other families, uncovering similar patterns of manipulation and control. They found hidden cameras, listening devices, meticulously documented observations, a chilling testament to the architects' invasive surveillance. Our town, once a haven of tranquility, was revealed to be a breeding ground for their experiments, a petri dish for their twisted social engineering. My mother, her grief replaced with a burning rage, vowed to expose them, to dismantle their network, to bring them to justice. Alara, her voice trembling but resolute, agreed to testify, to reveal the full extent of their manipulation, to expose the puppet master pulling the strings of our lives. I, still reeling from the shock of it all, struggled to comprehend the magnitude of their deception. The police found evidence of other experiments across the country, each one a variation on the same theme: families torn apart, individuals manipulated, lives destroyed in the name of their sick pursuit of control. The twist here was in the love Alara had for me. It was not the fabricated love she wrote to my mother. The love she truly felt was one of a protector. She had seen through the architect's manipulations that I was also a target, and she was trying to protect me from them, not my father. Her betrayal was a way to keep me away from the truth, so I would not get involved and thus remain safe. She knew that if I knew the truth, I would try to fight them. The trial was a media circus, a spectacle of broken families and shattered illusions. The architects, their faces obscured by shadows and their voices distorted, presented a chillingly clinical defense, claiming their actions were for the greater good, a necessary sacrifice in the pursuit of social perfection. They argued that our family and the others like us were flawed, imperfect specimens, and their intervention was a form of corrective surgery, a way to sculpt us into ideal citizens. My mother, her voice ringing with righteous fury, countered their claims, exposing their lies and revealing the devastating consequences of their experiments. Ilara, her testimony raw and emotional, detailed the years of manipulation, the subtle acts of control, the psychological torment that had turned her life into a living nightmare. I finally understanding the depth of her sacrifice, the true meaning of her fabricated love, testified against them, revealing the ways they had used me as a pawn, a tool to further their control. The jury, their faces etched with horror and disbelief, found the architects guilty on all counts, their verdict a resounding condemnation of their twisted ideology. But the victory felt hollow, a bittersweet triumph in the face of irreparable damage. Our family, once a picture of idyllic perfection, was now a fractured mosaic, the pieces forever altered by the architect's cruel experiment. We had found a love that was worth the wait, not in the romantic sense, but in the profound bond forged in the crucible of shared trauma. Alara and I, once estranged by lies and manipulation, rediscovered our connection, a love that transcended sisterhood, a love born of survival and resilience. My mother, her strength unwavering, became a beacon of hope for other victims, a symbol of defiance against the architect's insidious control. The final twist, the revelation that left us reeling, came after the trial. A hidden message left behind by one of the architects revealed their true purpose. They weren't trying to create perfect families, they were trying to create perfect soldiers. The emotional manipulation, the psychological torment, the systematic erosion of individuality, it was all a training program, a way to mold us into obedient weapons, to create a generation of individuals devoid of free will, completely subservient to their control. The love Ilara felt for me, the protection, was not just about me, it was her instinct, a part of the soldier they were trying to create, but she used it to fight them. She was not a puppet, but she was built as one, and she used those tools to fight back. We were not victims, but weapons they failed to control, and the love we found was the weapon they could not take away.